Okay. So I'm Richelle. I'm based in the Bay Area, a little bit north of San Francisco, and I'm a mom to a 16-month-old. I am also a student at the International Doula Institute, so that's where I was trained to become a childbirth educator, and right now I'm actually working on becoming a labor and postpartum doula as well. I am the founder of From Pregnant to Parent, so just kicked that off as where I'll be offering childbirth education through, and that's where you can find me on most social media pages. I've been through quite a number of iterations of my career up to this point, and I'm actually not a person who always knew that I wanted to be a mom and who always knew that I wanted to support moms. It wasn't until I actually had my own son and went through this transition that I figured out that this is something that I'm really passionate about. And I'm really excited every time that I have the opportunity to connect with fellow parents and help navigate this exciting and sometimes frustrating and roller coaster that is parenting. Rene, I'll pass it over to you to go ahead and introduce yourself. Rene, it looks like you're still on mute.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, no.
I was talking away. So I know since I'm not like one of the hosts on here, I might not be popping up as a person that you can see, but you can scroll through, I think, the videos to see if you want to look at me while I'm talking, if you can. I'm based out of Kansas City. I'm a mom to a 2-year-old, and then I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I work in an office in Kansas and Missouri called Attachment and Trauma Therapy, and we specialize in trauma and adoption. And I just wanted to say, too, if anything today we talk about is flooding or overwhelming in any way, please know that you can pause or take a break if you need to. We have a great ability to choose right now how much information we're receiving. So if you're feeling anything in your body or you need to take a break, please do so. That's all.
Thanks, Rene. Before we really dive in on content, we'd love to hear from you all and kind of give you the opportunity to let go of anything that you might be holding on to coming into this call. So if you feel comfortable either coming off mute or sharing in the chat, sometimes I think it can be really powerful just to let go of any stress that we're holding on to and to see that, we're not alone in that stress. A lot of times there's other people who might be sharing the same feelings as we are. If you feel comfortable, feel free to chime in on the chat. We'd love to hear from you. I can share too, just to make us be the first to be vulnerable. I know one thing that's really stressing me right now is just how much harder the little things seem to be, right? Just even sent my husband to Costco the other day, and the social distance line, right? Everyone's 6 feet apart, was down one end of the store, around the other end of the store, and then back up the other end of the store. And it's, just a reminder of even the simple things feel hard right now.
I feel that too. It's a little bit stressful to go to the store, kind of worried about what's to come, what's going to happen. So just overall, a little bit of stress and fear in this time.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I feel like right now, my daughter Justine, she's 6 months, and she's like, I think in general, like she hasn't been sleeping very well, and I think I might have been able to handle that a little better, but just the added like overall stress, like wherever you go or the way everything's new and we're doing everything differently, I think has made it harder for me to deal with her not sleeping or being like a little more grumpy at times.
That's so valid. It just seems like we're feeling depleted, right? Having all this extra extra worries, extra stress. Sometimes the normal day-to-day frustrations can be even harder to deal with.
Yeah.
Hi, Sweet Pea. She is adorable.
Thanks.
I think we have something in the chat that says that Jason says he's a parent of 2, a 4, and a 3-week-old. Oh my goodness, congrats. I'm trying to work through no school for the 4-year-old, having a newborn. That this period with our newborn is not what you expected or had been looking forward to. That sounds so valid. Like we just had all these expectations. There's so much loss around what's happening right now, and it looks different than you were wanting it to or expecting it to. That's challenging.
And all the added responsibilities right now, right? Of taking on, we have our normal things that we deal with, right? Working, or the normal difficulties of bringing in a newborn and transitioning, a 4-year-old into going from an only child to becoming a sibling, and the difficulties that come from that, and then the added stress of the disruptions of now you get to also be teacher on top of the other things. It can be difficult. Katie, thanks for chiming in.
Yeah, I was actually, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say for me, it's really hard. My 2-year-old and my 9-month-old are obviously, they're in happy bliss, but then my 3-year-old is really struggling. So for me, it's been really stressful to think, how can I shield her from trauma during this time? And even just my own anxiety and my own short temper with being at home with 3 impossible little kids. So just sort of like, how is she going to look on the other side of this? And how can I protect her from this being like a time when it just remembers as like, this was a very traumatic event in my life.
It's funny, Renee and I had that same conversation together offline yesterday, of just like remembering that like it's so easy to go down that rabbit hole, right? Of like, what are going to be all of the effects of this time period, and just like kind of bringing ourselves back to that focus on right now, and like all we can do is our best right now, and like give ourselves the grace to remember that like we are imperfect humans, and we do have those moments, and this is hard, and it's okay. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's a big one. I'm going to be induced on Wednesday because I'm a high-risk pregnancy and have to be in the hospital, and it's stressful. And I'm hearing that from so many moms right now, that it is stressful, and it can be a little bit scary to go into the hospitals. And I just want to reassure all my pregnant moms on the call that hospitals are taking every precaution right now to keep labor and delivery wards, to keep NICUs clean and safe and secure, and really going above and beyond. And I do believe it's still a very safe place to be, but that fear is so valid, and it is so stressful, and so many uncertainties and unknowns. See another one in the chat, helping my 8-year-old daughter to understand the critical nature of the situation, equally assuring her she is safe. And we're doing everything that we can, except now her dad's going out in the world, especially to hospitals, which scares her. And it can be so hard to help our kids to understand. Renee, maybe have you chime in on this one?
Yeah, I think Ruth, your 8-year-old, this is such a big transition for kids at this age, 7, 8, 9, 10, where they kind of become more like us, in the fact that like when we're in crisis, we want to do something and we have this urge to need to help. And so I can see that she's really in that space too, that she's needing to do something and to help and take some control. So information is going to be huge for her, giving her appropriate information. And kind of a few activities I've been seeing like kids do at this age is like writing notes on the sidewalk, that are kind of helpful for people that are walking by, or making gratitude stones, or just finding ways that they can do and do some action in helpful ways, because it's so hard. They're really at that age kind of transitioning to more of what we're needing to do as well. So I feel, yeah, that's really challenging. And it's kind of cute too that she's doing like labeling seating areas, making sure everything's 6 feet apart. I think that's really cute, but overwhelming too.
Thank you everyone for sharing. I think it's so important, even just to put words to our emotions, right, and to share them, and to just put them out there, right, and own them and say, this is the feelings that I'm going through, the frustrations, the concerns, I think sometimes even just saying them out loud can be a little bit relieving. But we're really excited to have you all on the call here, and to hopefully give you some new tools to add into your tool belt to help you just cope with all these feelings that are coming up through this time. So just to kind of take this a little bit further, remember, you might be feeling a whole lot of different things right now, and it can change day to day. It could change hour to hour, even feeling negative feelings of stress or fear, burnout, frustration, concern, worry, anger, guilt, one moment, and then maybe the next moment you're finding ways to feel grateful or comfortable or optimistic, happy. I think it's hard. It can be hard sometimes right now, especially when we're in those moments of negativity, to find positivity. And I think in the moments, sometimes rare moments right now, when we do find positivity, then they might bring us feelings of guilt, of feeling like feeling guilty for being positive during something that's so hard, when that some people are really struggling to find positive in this. The point here, though, is just that whatever you're feeling is okay, and it's valid, and it's natural to be kind of going through this roller coaster during times of crisis, which we're in right now in this pandemic, and just know that it's okay, know that it's valid, and that it's beneficial to acknowledge those feelings.
Yeah, I love that. And I like to think of our feelings as like messengers, and we can listen to them. The narrative, like fear and stress, are really telling us that we need to do something in this moment to rebalance and recenter. So it's kind of listening to what our feelings are telling us is really helpful, and to kind of release some of that guilt and judgment and just have more compassion for ourselves at this time is so vital.
Renee is going to walk us through. She put together a whole list of coping strategies just to give us a place, like I said, just to start building out that tool belt of, now I've recognized these feelings, I have these feelings, I'm paying attention to what's coming up, now what?
Right. So there's so many things that we can do to support ourselves. And this is not an exhaustive list by any means. There's so much more, but these are just some things that have helped me that I wanted to share. And they're all just suggestions of things to try when the time is right for you. Like, we're right now in the midst of a collective trauma, and a lot of us are in survival mode. So the ability to be able to do some of these things, we might not be able to do it. There's lost income. There's lots of things that are going on. So just meeting our basic needs might be a really huge challenge right now. So just throughout this presentation today, just be really aware of all that judgment and guilt that's might be coming up, and again, moving into more of a place of compassion. Those of us who are in like a survival mode right now and surviving, we're going to have fewer resources to put towards self-care, to put towards emotional connection. Like Adrienne, you had mentioned, you're finding it hard when your little one's having more behaviors or acting up in different ways. Like, it's harder for you to have that, your tank's not as full as it used to be. We just have fewer resources right now. And so just having compassion for ourselves, and we're doing what we need to do to survive, and that's okay, because that's what our brain is meant to do. That's what our body's meant to do. So just first and foremost is just taking care of ourselves in the way that we can. And just know sometimes we can't do that in this moment. Sometimes it's weeks later, months later. It's going to look different for anyone who can do some of these self-care and coping skills. So just be so gentle with yourselves. I start this list by self-care. And really what I mean by that is starting just meeting those basic needs: shelter, nutrition, sleep. And then we can move into more of those emotional needs, and kind of release our feelings through crying and laughing, connecting with friends. This is just an incredibly stressful time for all of us. We're experiencing a lot of fear. And I kind of wanted to talk to you about kind of what goes on with our body during fear. Helps me to know what's going on. But we create all these amazing stress hormones in order to keep us safe. We've all heard of fight, flight, or freeze. So basically our body is just releasing adrenaline and we're having more blood flow that goes into our arms and legs so we can run or fight or stay really still if we need to. So one of the main techniques that we always hear is to breathe and take deep breaths. And the reason for that is it's just a wonderful way to stop all the adrenaline that's being released into our bodies. So the idea is to breathe in through our nose, hold it for a few seconds, and then breathe out through our mouths. In an ideal world, you want to breathe breathing in, but that can be challenging when we're first starting with deep breaths. And also really trying to get that breath into our bellies so we get more of the oxygen to our body. And basically, this is just going to slow our heart rate. It's going to reduce our blood pressure. It's going to kind of send a signal to our brain that like, hey, I'm okay, I'm safe. I can calm everything down. I can slow down the hormones that are being released. I can just slow everything else down. But I do want to say, like, deep breaths are really hard to do in the moment when we're panicked or really, really afraid. So this is something that we have to practice. It's also an amazing tool we can teach our children. So practicing with putting a toy on their belly and watching it rise and fall. Or even this morning, my daughter and I were playing. She was trying to scare my husband and I, but like popping out of behind the corner. And so I was just kind of like laughing and being like, oh, my heart's beating so fast, you scared me. Oh, I'm going to take a deep breath to calm my heart down. And so we were taking big breaths together. So there's lots of ways you can kind of practice taking deep breaths. I'm sorry if I'm going fast. Honestly, I'm feeling a little bit nervous doing a presentation like this, so I might need to do some of these things myself right now. So after big breaths, we still have all that extra energy that the adrenaline is released in our bodies. The one helpful thing that I like to do is just a quick body scan to see like, where do I have all this extra tension? Because I know if I have this energy and I don't use it, I'm just going to feel really yucky or stressed. So where do I have this tension at? Kind of do a body scan head to toe and just shake out different parts. Like, are my hands feeling tense? Do I feel tightness? Is my jaw feeling tense? Kind of shake it out. With dance with them. You can bicycle little baby legs to kind of get their energy out. I love the song Shake Your Sillies Out for kids. I think that song was just made for stress and fear. So putting that song on, Shake Your Sillies Out, is really great to do. Another thing is just taking your shoes off and putting your feet to the ground, your bare feet to the ground. This is so grounding and it's something we can quickly do. And if it's nice out, I'm kind of jealous of you being in the Bay Area. It's probably nice out to be able to go outside and do this can really be grounding. And then another thing to do is just having positive affirmations. Like, we're inherently as humans just negative thinkers. We're trying to protect ourselves to keep ourselves, so we think negatively often. So if we can have a phrase or a saying or something we can tell ourselves in times of stress, that's going to be so nice to change our mindset. So these are a couple that I like to use. Like, I'm strong, I can handle this, I'm a good parent. So challenge ourselves to think of a few things that we can say in the moment. We might need help in the beginning if we haven't had any positive affirmations like in our head. We can write them on the mirror or put them on sticky notes around the house to help remind us. I also like helping my daughter come up with some. So if she's feeling scared or when she wakes up at night more now, I tell her some positive affirmations like you're brave, you're safe, to really help her change her mindset too. And then again, this time I've been so grateful for technology right now, like the ability to stay connected with family and friends. Like, we're all born into a tribe, so like connection is like vital for us to survive. So I'm just like taking all the extra technology that we've been using and just like thinking of it as a gift. So connect with your friends, talk to someone about your feelings and your struggles and your joys. It can be a friend that you know that's comfortable with emotions. It can be a spouse or a partner. It can be a paid professional or joining a group or joining things like this. Just kind of helps. And then the next things I kind of wanted to talk about are a few exercises that we can do, and I'm going to demonstrate them. I probably won't demonstrate the last one just a lot of space to lay down, but I'll demonstrate them and I invite you to join me if that feels comfortable for you, or you can just watch and just kind of look what I'm doing. So the first one that we can do is just show ourselves some compassion. So I like to put my hand over my heart, and if you can see, or just anywhere where I feel a lot of tension, and I'm just going to say, like, I'm feeling nervous today. I'm not alone in that feeling. And I just give myself some support with some positive affirmations. Like, I can care for myself in this moment. I've done my best. Let go of the rest. And I'll just take a deep breath as I'm sitting here. So I'm going to breathe in and hold it for a few seconds and then breathe out. And just, I can already feel my heart rate slowing down and some of that tension being released. It's just so helpful to have some compassion for ourselves. And then our next thing I wanted to show you is called a butterfly hug. This is actually something we learn in EMDR, which is a type of therapy, but I like using it for myself. But we're going to cross our hands over our chest. I like to hook my thumbs together, if you can see in my tiny video, and kind of put them like right on my sternum. And then find like my collarbone with my fingertips, and just right under there's kind of that soft squishy area. And slowly alternate tapping your hands. I like to go pretty slow, and maybe just 5 to 7 times we can do this, or 2 to 3 minutes, whatever feels safe. This is just going to really ground you and kind of help process some of that fear and that stress. We often hold a lot of tension right in here and a lot of cortisol underneath our collarbones, so it kind of can release some of that. And for our kids, like I do this with my daughter, I'll have her sit on my lap and I'll kind of tap shoulders or tap her arms really slowly. You can tap them on their shoulders like this. I might rock her or sing her a song, but it can be really nice for our kiddos as well, and just really ground them. And then the last one that's pretty simple that I like to do is, this is a yoga pose, but putting your legs up on the wall. So if this is the wall, you're going to lay and put your legs up. Oh, Adrian, I like that. I got this. So put your legs up, do this for a few minutes, take deep breaths. You can also do this with your little ones. Like I like to do this with my daughter when I'm reading books at night, especially right now. We need extra support before bedtime. We have a lot of anxiety. So we might read some books and hook our legs over her bed, or lay on the wall, like lay in her crib with her legs up on the wall, and just read books together like this while we're breathing and kind of having a connecting moment. So I like to do things that I can get multiple things done at once. So reading books, but also like helping our bodies calm down. But essentially, just take care of yourself, bring joy, find things that bring you joy, release your feelings when you can. So write, journal, move your body, speak with someone, go outside, open a window. But again, these are all just suggestions to things to try when you're right. Like when you feel like you can't, don't resonate with you, that's totally okay. You can choose your own joy, and that's really great. So next, I just wanted to talk about like, what's going on for our kids. I've already heard a few things that we are seeing, like having a hard time sleeping, but I just wanted to go on, like kind of talk about what's going on, how is this for our kids, and whether like big kids, 8-year-olds or toddlers, even babies, whether we're talking about coronavirus or not, they're feeling things, they're feeling the collective fear and picking up on that. So I'll kind of jump around a little bit on this next 2 slides, but I think I'll touch everything, but let me know if I don't. So there's just obvious changes at home, right? So kids thrive on having structure and safe routines. It makes them understand the world a little bit easier because there's so much newness for them. So when stuff stays the same, it can feel really safe. So in general, what this is like, whether we're having a corona pandemic or we're having like major stress changes at home, when children have like accumulated painful feelings or lots of fear, lots of stress, these are some things that you might notice. Like they might want to sleep next to you. They might not want to be in their room alone or alone in general. We might have more clinginess that comes up. They're going to do more of those behaviors that generally as parents we don't enjoy. So maybe taking longer to go to sleep, waking up more at night, not cooperating as much, hitting and biting, maybe more tears and tantrums. Just lots of those things might be coming up. Or we can have some kiddos that take a little bit longer to process some things. So maybe they're not experiencing feelings, or they're more quiet than usual, or they just seem like, oh, they're doing fine, everything's great. So both of those things are normal. They're just making sense of what's going on. And I just like to say, like, the same with us. Our kids are going to bring their feelings when they're ready to. And this, again, can be months later with big fears and tears. So just be aware and watch out that they'll process when they're ready to. And it's just our responsibility and our job to make sure we can stay connected so that they feel safe enough to bring our feelings. I notice sometimes too with kids, like if I'm feeling really, especially my daughter, if I'm feeling really stressed, like she sometimes will be really calm because she's trying to like mirror me, like I'm trying to be calm, but I'm not. And as soon as I feel like comfortable and safe, then she has like big emotions or big reactions. So sometimes our kids, when they're in this more like kind of taking a step back or not having big feelings, they're just waiting for us to like feel safe enough with ours so they can show us theirs, if that makes sense. So just whatever ways you can remind yourself that these are all just indications of what's going on in our bodies. We have empathy and compassion. We just need to have empathy and compassion for them and for us. So there's nothing wrong with your child. There's nothing wrong with you as a parent. We're all just navigating challenging situation as it comes. And then I think our next slide is routines. So as far as routines go, we just have to be so gentle in this time. Like, do as much you can to provide connection. Again, like I said earlier, like if we're in survival mode, like connection's going to be really hard, and just like do what you can. Our kids are going to feel better when they have a connection or sense of connection with us. Also, our children are just great mirrors for us, so they need us to be the best version of us. And sometimes they even like push us to the edge so that we can like listen to what's going on with ourselves, which is really funny and interesting to me. So just knowing that like we can't set compassionate limits, and we can't listen to strong feelings, and we can't be empathetic when we're exhausted and when we're in survival mode. So some of this might just be really challenging right now, and it's so okay. And like we'll all get through this, and we can take care of ourselves when we can. But in general, working to keep some routines that we had before all this the same, like trying to keep their bedtime routine the same or their feeding schedules the same. Any routines that you've had, trying to keep them as much the same as they were before, and keeping those healthy limits consistent. Our schedules look so different right now. Our kids' schedules look so different. So our routines are going to be off, but trying to find some things that can be the same each day. I also say try to avoid starting new things or making big changes right now, because everything that's happening is already new and big. And if we have, like, I know a lot of parents with like 2 and 3-year-olds are like, oh, perfect time to potty train. I'm home. We can just go right ahead and do this. And that's totally okay if you've done that and that's been like your decision and path. Just know that some of the behaviors I just talked about might get bigger. There's just so much going on. So just kind of have more compassion. And then just know, like, again, like I talked about technology, like it is so okay if you're using more technology right now, like what a gift it is that we have those things. And just like us, that sometimes we need to numb out, so do our kids. And that's just okay that we can give them space to do that for a little bit, and we can take some space and time during that. And just when this is over, maybe we can set limits again if that's in your practice. But yeah. So, and I think I said a little bit with older kiddos, like they need the same move into action. So they can draw or write or read or talk about what's going on, find some facts that make sense to them, kind of help them do things. So that's all I have. But I think Richelle's going to talk a little bit more about our pregnancy moms and postpartum newborns and stuff.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, what Rene was saying. I mean, a big part of this is making sure that we're taking care of ourselves first. I always love the analogy of, when we're on the airplane of put your oxygen mask on first before you put on someone else's oxygen mask, right? So we have to make sure that we're kind of regulating ourselves so that we can help our kids better regulate. And knowing that, this might involve some trial and error. It might be trying one coping technique with your kiddos, or, trying to approach conversation with them in one way, and realizing that, like, okay, maybe that wasn't it. Maybe this wasn't, we didn't nail it this time, and we'll try again. Maybe it's little by little going back to finding that sense of normalcy. It's just as important for us to try to maintain a sense of normalcy right now as it is for helping our kiddos. So for our pregnant mamas, our expecting parents in the group, it's, our little ones are still inside of us. So that's, even more so about regulating ourselves in order to help regulate them. So one thing that I really just wanted to touch on, and we'll go through this a little quickly so that we can get into Q&A, but just knowing that some of the risk factors for perinatal and postpartum mood disorders can look a lot like life right now. Being aware of the fact that, recent stressful life events, lack of support, in the midst of social distancing, we're probably not feeling as supported, at least not physically, by maybe some of the support that we usually have in our day-to-day life. Your childbirth experience might look a little bit different right now, and your expectations might be changing, right? What you expected, things don't really look the way that they did before. So just knowing and being aware that these things that we're experiencing can put us at a little bit more risk. Now, I don't tell you this to cause more stress in you. The last thing that I want is for you to let your stress cause you more stress. But knowing this can just help you have a little bit more awareness, right? Keep your ears open, your eyes open a little bit more, just to knowing that you're at risk, and letting it drive you to put a plan in place for, if your normal reactions do escalate a little bit more and they start to feel a little bit more out of control, who can you turn to? Where can you go? What can you do to keep things from escalating into a true PPMD? We also want to keep in mind too, right, that as we're moving into postpartum, as we have as we deliver our babies and now have them earthside, there's a lot of things that are happening within our body. There's hormones are changing and adapting to now no longer growing your baby. There's also a lot going on. You're learning a lot, becoming a new parent. You're learning your role as a parent. You're learning your new child, learning new rules for siblings, helping older siblings kind of navigate welcoming in a new child. So there's a lot that can be coming up. Maybe crying a little bit more easily, feeling more overwhelmed, feeling exhausted. Maybe the appetite's changing, feeling more protective, feeling fears, feeling concerns, maybe a lack of confidence. And know that all of these things are normal, right? This is and not just for moms, for birthing parents, but this is, very similar to foster and adoptive parents who have just welcomed a child into the home, for new dads. It's completely normal to be feeling these things. And postpartum mood disorders don't just affect new moms. We do know that they affect new dads and foster adoptive parents as well, because there is a lot of change that's going on. Just like the way that, Rene is talking about this crisis is kind of disrupting our routines. We're having a similar amount of stress just from disrupting the routines of adding another person into our lives, into our families. So give yourself space and know that a lot of these feelings are normal. It's just when they kind of start to escalate and disrupt our day-to-day lives that we start to get a bit more concerned. So I just wanted to raise these just so that we're aware. It is when those feelings start to become more extreme. So maybe extreme agitation, where easily triggered irritability. Maybe you're having an emotional outburst that is kind of takes you by surprise, or maybe frightens you a little bit, or you're feeling extreme mood fluctuations. So going from feeling very happy to then having some lows. Maybe you're feeling preoccupied, or having flashbacks if you had a difficult birthing experience, or maybe past trauma in your life has been stirred up by having a baby. Anything that's just kind of feeling like I can't really focus on the here and now. I can't really continue my day-to-day life because I'm so kind of overwhelmed or consumed by my emotions, my feelings, my anxieties, my fears, my frustrations. I'm consistently forgetting to eat. I'm consistently having a hard time falling asleep, even when there's the opportunity. I'm never really feeling any more rested. I'm never really feeling any just feeling completely depleted and exhausted and run down, and in a way that doesn't seem to match the amount of sleep that I'm getting. So just all things to kind of to keep in mind and to be aware of, just knowing that we might be at slightly higher risk during this time when there is already added stress. There is all of this added stress on our plates that we're experiencing through this crisis. So just have that plan in place, really play around with the coping strategies that Rene had walked through. These are equally as beneficial, whether you're a pregnant parent, maybe you're not even pregnant yet, you're just in the early stages of planning, and that, or you have a toddler, you have a newborn, you have older kids, maybe teenagers around the house. No matter where you are in your life, they're all really wonderful tools just to be able to help navigate and work through and move past some of the maybe negative feelings that are coming up for us. Another thing too that we can do and just add into our tool belt of coping strategies is just having a plan. So knowing that you're maybe at slightly higher risk right now, having a plan of who are the people that I can turn to and where is the support that I can receive virtually. So maybe I don't feel quite as isolated. I'm not exacerbating the feelings of isolation and social distancing. So knowing, maybe who's that person that makes me laugh, so that when I'm feeling maybe a little hopeless, I can just text that person, call that person, or do a quick video chat and have a laugh. Knowing who's that person I can turn to when I really just need to cry or vent. Who's that person that's my go-to when I'm just feeling lost and overwhelmed as a parent. And I know that they can kind of ground me and help me come up with, brainstorm some good ideas to problem solve whatever we're working through right now. And then maybe having one or two options for, it's a support group that I can tap into, or maybe a therapist or counselor that I can reach out to who offers virtual sessions during this time. And just kind of being armed with that list of kind of who are those people that I go to. Then when you're in that moment of feeling frustrated or overwhelmed, or you don't really have to think about it. You know exactly who you can turn to. And that can be really helpful. And just to remember, we really want to just keep reiterating the fact that our feelings and our emotions and whatever's coming up for you now, or maybe, in a few months from now when we're through the crisis and you're just having a hard day, your feelings are valid. Your feelings are normal. And sometimes just taking a moment to step back, to recognize those situations or those feelings that are coming up, to kind of evaluate the situation that's coming up, and maybe gain a little perspective of, these feelings might feel really overwhelming and all consuming right now. But, giving yourself that moment to gain the perspective that this is just a small moment in time. I will get through the other side of this. I can get to the other side of this. Can be really helpful. And remember, asking for help, reaching out for support, whether from a friend or a professional, helps to speed up our recovery. It's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. You haven't failed if you need help or support. We all need help and support sometimes, whether that's, getting physical tasks done, or with our emotions, mental support. It's a real sign of strength and bravery sometimes to be able to acknowledge, hey, I'm hurting, or hey, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Hey, I need some help. If you are a new parent who does experience postpartum mood disorders, know that you're not alone. That there are a lot of people who, including myself, who go through this. It's a very normal thing, and there's nothing that you did to cause your condition. No one's at fault when they're talking about perinatal or postpartum. Perinatal being, before I have my baby, so prenatal while I'm pregnant, mood disorders, or postpartum mood disorders. You didn't cause that. You're not at fault. All we can do is our best every single day, and just taking the time to acknowledge what we're feeling. And doing our best, to arm ourselves with tools and strategies to work through those things. It's not uncommon. I know we talked about this a little bit even in the very beginning of the call, right? Like it's normal for us to have feelings of anger, stress. You know, sometimes we're irritated by our kids, we're irritated by our situation, we're angry at our situation. You know, especially in the postpartum period, we might even have harmful thoughts come up. You know, are we are feeling things that that make us feel like, oh, am I a bad parent because that just crossed my mind? But it happens. It's normal, and it's the difference between having the thought and then seeking help and, you know, arming ourselves with tools and recognizing that, you know, this thought is telling me that I'm at my limits here. I need to back up. I need to take care of myself. I need to put my oxygen mask on, and not letting those escalate to harmful actions, right? There's a very big difference between the thoughts and the actions. And like I said earlier, adoptive parents, foster parents, non-birthing partners, you know, it's not uncommon for you to have your own struggles and feelings popping up too. It's not just the birthing mothers who might be experiencing these mood disorders. And for any moms who are going through this, breastfeeding moms, know that there are medications out there that can help. But really, you know, for all of our parents, no matter where we're at, your feelings are normal, your feelings are valid, and it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to ask for help. Rene, anything you want to add on for this one?
Yeah, I love that. I think with our just culture and society, it's so easy to judge ourselves. Like, am I doing it wrong? Why is this so hard? Like, our culture in general just doesn't value support. And so we just really have to relearn, like, we have needs and we don't come last on the list because a lot of those thoughts and feelings are just built from our culture. And so just really kind of being more authentic with ourselves and our feelings that they are real and valid. Ask for help, welcome support, lean into those places that are uncomfortable and let those feelings out little by little. But yeah, just move out of judgment and into compassion as much as we can.
Oh, I love that. So we're gonna dive into some Q&A, but I know that folks will start to trickle off the phone here. So I just wanted to let you all know there's multiple ways to connect with us further if you want to dive deeper into any of this. We are going to send a recap email that's going to have all of this. You're welcome to take a screenshot so that you have it, but know that you'll also receive an email that's going to have our information. We do have another chat that's coming up next week, how to be your own doula for birthing moms who are worried about having this maybe limited support through the birth experience. So if you're interested or if you know someone who might be, that's the next one coming up. But Rene and I promised 15 minutes of Q&A, and we're happy to hang out for anyone who wants to ask questions. And I know Gina had chimed in a little bit earlier with a specific question. I'm concerned about my 15-year-old. She seems to just stay in her room, which is pretty normal for her. But when I asked her what she thought about coronavirus, she said she didn't care. She thinks it doesn't affect her. She said we all have to die eventually. Rene, I think you maybe touched on this a little bit, just with the maybe she's holding it in now and processing still and having a delayed response later. But I'll hand this one over to you to dive into a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I think I bet if we have more teen parents on the call, I'm sure that they're experiencing something very similar, just wanting to stay in their room. And we all have experienced loss with this, like especially for our teens, like school is, most schools are canceled or closed, whether for this month or the rest of the year. And so there's a lot of loss in that, a lot of loss in our socialization like we used to have. And so she may be in her room trying to socialize on her computer or her phone or so just those things are so normal. And to even like if you can validate like, oh, I bet it's so hard not being able to see your friends. I bet it's so weird that you don't have school right now. Like what comes up with that? And just see if she's able to talk about it and just validate like, oh yeah, you don't think anything's affecting you and you feel safe and comfortable that you're not going to be harmed by this. But there are so many things that it's affecting our routines and our day to day. So but yeah, teens are tough because they do stay in their room. So you're like, well, I need to make sure you're okay. So yeah, I hope that answered a little bit. I don't have a lot of more to say about it, but I hope that gave you some support. Does anyone else have questions or concerns? I also know that like I think I skipped a little bit on the routine side about like how to kind of support your kids when they're having those behaviors. And so if you have specific questions about that, I didn't go too deep into it because that's just like it's just going to be really hard right now to stay in more of a place of compassion and empathy. So if you have more questions or specific examples of behaviors that you want support with, like feel free to type or text or ask. Right now, that's okay too.
And just as a reminder, in case anyone's having any problems, opening it up down at the bottom of your screen is where you should be able to pull up a little menu bar where you should see the participants and then an option to chat. And that's how you can open up kind of a sidebar screen where you can just type right in there and ask questions.
And you can also send stuff directly to Richelle or I if you don't want your name popping up, and we can kind of answer from there too.
Thanks, Emily. Saw your note in the chat there. All right, well, we can go ahead and wrap up then. But like Rene said, please don't hesitate to reach out to either one of us if we can support you in any way. Yes, this is being recorded, and I will absolutely be sending out a recap email, which should have a note, a link in it to go to the recording. Might take me just a little while after we close the call to get that recording uploaded and get that link in and get that sent out. But we will definitely be distributing the recording, Ash, so that you'll have it. And then Jason, have any parents of young kids found ways to let their kids socialize virtually? Rene, you want to start, and then I can add in a couple things that I've been hearing.
Yeah, I know my little one's in daycare, and I know that they've been kind of doing the nursery room even has done like calls to see like even the teachers and stuff, and they've been doing where the teachers have been reading books and like posting them on Facebook. So we've been kind of doing that. But otherwise, I think just like connecting with other parents and just seeing like, can we FaceTime or something like that? Because it's hard for young kids to social distance. They just don't know what 6 feet looks like. But I love that virtually socializing with others. I don't have lots of experience, but if anyone else, I'd like to hear that too.
I know one thing that I've been hearing of recently. I had no idea that it was a thing, but there's an app that's called Marco Polo, where you can like record a little video of what's going on for you, and then you send it to somebody else, and then they can it's kind of like Snapchat almost, it seems like, but it's kind of like a game of Marco Polo. So you can kind of record what's going on here and then send it over there. They can watch it and then on their own time, and then when they're ready, respond back. And I've heard it working really well with young kids that maybe don't have the focus to sit down and have, like a full-blown video chat play session, but then it's kind of fun for them to kind of like tune in and they pay attention and like, oh, I see this video, and they can watch for that moment and then maybe create something to send back, and then they kind of go back to what they were doing, and then that way they're getting a little bit of more social interaction, but without having the stress of trying to figure out maybe like a scheduled playtime or maintained focus. So I haven't used it personally, but I thought that was a pretty neat
Yeah, that's fun.
But of course, using Zoom or other Google Hangouts and whatnot. Oh, great! First grader, Phoebe's first grader has a Marco Polo group, and they're so cute. Yeah, it's Emily just downloaded Marco Polo too. Awesome. But yeah, I've been hearing that works especially well with younger kids. I think just figuring out a way to kind of maintain some sort of contact is really helpful.
Yeah, I think we've been doing like ice cream socials with my husband's parents. So like we, after dinner, we'll have ice cream and do a FaceTime call and all eat ice cream together. And so trying to do different things to stay connected with them as well has been kind of fun.
Love that. And if anyone else has things that they've been doing, feel free to chime in. We'd love to hear from other people too of what you've been doing to add, some more socializing into our days. Older kids might like house party. You can play games with the group. Awesome. My 9-year-old would like a shout out. He is feeling sad not being able to see our school friends. Oh. Well, we're excited that we have you on here and that we get to chat with you a little bit. And so we appreciate you joining. And hopefully, maybe your own little Marco Polo group with school friends might be a great idea to try.
Yeah. What's so wonderful right now is like our kids are growing up in an age of technology and how that's how they can kind of communicate with their friends. And so some of this is just like, how do we be more creative and lean into what they already are doing? So that sounds so fun that he can kind of, or he's feeling sad. Yeah, he can try to do Marco Polo or do some of those other things, house party, to try to connect. Oh yeah, I like
maybe a good time to kick it old school, right? Like maybe it's doing pen pals, or maybe emails back and forth. Maybe drawing a friend a picture that you maybe save to give later, making that reunion even better, right? Like what's something that we can put together? Maybe a little I missed you, a nice to see you, like it's been, a reuniting gift that you can give a friend. While we weren't able to see each other, we've been able to draw, draw all these pictures for you, so that you knew that I was thinking about you this whole time, or something like that. I love that, Phoebe, that your kids are discovering the joy of letter writing and receiving. It really is kind of a neat thing, right? Something that we take for granted when we're used to seeing people face to face all the time. It doesn't always cross our mind to write letters and let people know that we're thinking of them. It's a nice time to kind of drop the technology and maybe do it a little old school connection.
so cute, Emily. I'll bring back the pen pal. Love it.
Oh, Adrian, thank you so much for that note. That's so sweet of you. We so appreciate every single one of you who take the time to jump on and join us. We love having the opportunity to, just to support other parents and just to connect even. It's just as beneficial for us as hopefully it has been for all of you. I love that your daughters discovered the mailbox in the old days of letter writing.
Thank you, Jason.
We'll go ahead and wrap up today. But like we've said before, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We love supporting you all. We love connecting with other parents, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your weekend. I know Sundays don't feel very different from Monday through Fridays anymore, but hopefully you found today to be beneficial, and sending well wishes and love and patience to everyone in this crazy time.
Yes. Be gentle. Do it.
Yes. Thanks, everyone.